A political showdown or a cooking show? Which would have been more pleasing to the Australian television viewer? We'll never know for sure, but the answer in this case is pretty obvious because the phenomenal rating success of MasterChef has forced the rescheduling of the only debate between the contenders for the top job in Australian politics, as Joe Hockey was just pointing out. With ratings for the grand final of the MasterChef show expected to reach as many as 4 million, a decision was made to televise the debate between Prime Minister Gillard and Opposition Leader Tony Abbott an hour earlier than originally planned this Sunday night. Tracy Bowden takes a brief detour from the politics of the day to ask why a cooking contest has come to dominate television to the extent that it has.
This is the finals week. There are 5 of you standing here. Your 90 minutes starts now.
It's a simple recipe. Take a bunch of enthusiastic amateur cooks, have them prepare a series of dishes, add a team of 3 judges and stir. The result, a ratings triumph.
That's it. Your time's up.
It is enormous. It is an absolute phenomenon. In the last decade or so, probably there's been nothing as big as it. Big Brother was a big thing, but this is incredible.
Within minutes, one of you will be walking out those doors.
Last night's episode of MasterChef reached a season high of more than 2.3 million viewers. Media buying king Harold Mitchell says this weekend's final episode could top 4 million.
Absolute idiot if I lose.
It's a $100 million property in every way. It makes probably $50 million a year for the 10 network.
Food is a fundamental part of our lives, and it really taps into that without being cynical, without being brutal, without being nasty. It's gentle and illuminating, and they are very, very rare qualities.
The popularity of MasterChef means it's now stirring up the political agenda.
Mr Peacock really shouldn't do what he's done now and say, well, I've got some evidence, but it's in the confidential volume.
Since the leaders' TV debates began in 1984, they've traditionally occupied the Sunday evening prime time slot. But this year, politics has come up against reality TV.
Do they stand, Mr.
Well, I'm assuming I will neither be dancing nor cooking. And Australians, you know, it's a great country, and one of the great things about it is you get to pick what you want to watch on TV.
The decision was made to reschedule this Sunday's political debate to 6:30 p.m. to avoid clashing with the MasterChef final.
No kids are safe during an election campaign. Good to see you. How are you?
This will probably be the biggest show of the year, and so it was no wonder, therefore, that if they thought that they could put a debate of the leaders of the parties up against it, it wasn't going to get anywhere. Usually a debate in the past would be quite something.
This is unfamiliarity on steroids, it really is. I'm going to have to be on my game here.
Veteran journalist George Negus has a taste for both politics and food. He was a contestant on Celebrity MasterChef.
I think the order of priorities for Australians must be cooking, dancing, football, and a very poor fourth, who runs the country.
George Negus says the scheduling change is a comment on how Australians view politics.
I just think it is a reflection of the country that we should even be talking about it. I mean, I think in most Western countries, people would turn off everything else as soon as you heard there was going to be a political election and a political debate.
It's a jarring idea, but the truth is television trumps politics, and it always trumps politics.
It's interesting to think of what happened in the UK some time ago. The final eviction of Big Brother actually attracted more votes than did the general election that was held in the same year. So I think that gives a fairly good indication as to the bond that people have with reality TV as opposed to what they might have with politics.
Why should the Australian people believe you on this new statement in relation to Iraq?
Well, what I said in relation to Iraq and what I
But
said...
what does political debate rate? Almost 2.4 million people watched Kevin Rudd and John Howard go head-to-head back in 2007.
You chose to use it in a very political fashion.
In the debate and in MasterChef, there ultimately will be one winner. In MasterChef, we've watched their hopes, we've seen these hopes crushed, we've seen tears, we've seen laughter. Possibly not all the same things that we could attribute to Julia Gillard and also to Tony Abbott.
Harold Mitchell believes the decision to move the debate is also a reflection of how the public feels about this particular election.
The Prime Minister
Thank you very much.
If it was massive and incredible and there was a major issue that people were going to be discussed and it was a must-watch, it would be up against anything and it would clean up. But here it's had to be protected and moved, and I think it rather says that the election is boringly going on.
What would you be watching if the two were on at the same time?
Well, I'd watch live. I would probably, if I couldn't record, I'd probably flick between the two. Is there going to be a worm?
We'll never know what would have happened if the audience had had to choose between the two programs this weekend. However the shows rate, the only public reaction that really matters politically is the one to be delivered on August the 21st.
Perhaps they could have the debate in a food mall. Tracy Bowden with that report.